Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am finally sharing my son's birth story. So this is our fifth child who was just born 4 weeks ago now, and I'm going to share with you his birth story today. He is currently napping, yes, thankfully, or it might be a little bit harder for me to get this video out, but I'm sure he will wake up sometime throughout the duration of this video, and I will show him to you guys as well. I've got my handy dandy birth notes I wrote down to hopefully help me recall everything that happened with his birth. So to start off with, I had planned a home birth. This is my fifth home birth I had planned, and my labors have been quite smooth and I don't want to say easy, but they've been pretty quick and smooth. Everything has gone well. So 2 days after my due date, I started having contractions around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I had been having quite a few Braxton Hicks for the previous few weeks, but nothing consistent at all. And so I started having contractions 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 days after my due date, and they were about 10 to 15 minutes apart. Nothing too painful, but I was having them quite consistently. That afternoon, that evening, I think around the supper hour or maybe a little bit later, I texted both my sister, Lisa, who is going to come over for the birth, and my midwife, and I said, I think this baby's going to come tonight. And my labors, like I said, have been fast. Like most of mine have been between 3 and 4 hours from like labor starting until baby's born. And so I wanted to make sure to give everybody a good heads up. Just in case. I didn't want them to miss the birth or anything. I just wanted them to have a good heads up. So I texted them and said, I think baby's gonna come tonight. I texted my husband who was at work, told him the same thing. And so I'm just gonna timing these contractions. Every 10 minutes they're coming. My husband got home from work, my sister's texting me, my midwife is texting me like, how's it going? Like, are they getting worse? Are your contractions coming closer together? And I was like, no, not really. They're still about 10 minutes apart. And they were getting a little bit more painful, but not getting longer, not getting closer together. And so at about 10 o'clock that night, I went to bed, and basically as soon as my head hit the pillow, I just, laid there for a little bit in bed. My contractions completely stopped. And so I was like, oh my goodness, what in the world? Like, this has never happened to me before. Usually my labor continues and continues on, not just stops. Anyways, so it stopped, and but then I thought, okay, I'm probably going to go into labor in the middle of the night, and it's probably going to go fast because I've already had these few hours of labor, early labor. Once it starts again, it'll probably go fast. So I woke up a few times during the night, just normal pregnancy, like waking up in the night, having to go to the bathroom, whatever. And every time I woke up, I was like, okay, am I having contractions? Nope, no contractions through the night at all. So the next day, my husband got up, went to work. I was pretty grumpy that morning. I thought I'd have the baby the night before and he wouldn't have to go into work, and now I had to do another day just like waiting, like, when's this gonna happen? So that morning, I was just feeling a bit crampy, just not feeling great. I was just feeling like, on one hand, I was just kind of grumpy because the baby hadn't come yet and my labor had just stopped. And then I was also just feeling kind of crampy, kind of like, okay, maybe today the baby will come then. And I was just feeling done. I just wanted to have this baby. So I was 3 days overdue at this point. Did our normal morning thing around 2:30 in the afternoon. My contractions started again. 15 to 20 minutes apart, so not very close together, but I started timing them, thinking again, okay, this is probably gonna go fast. Once labor starts, it's probably gonna go fast now because I should be dilated a bit after this labor yesterday. So I started timing my contractions. By about 4:30, my contractions had gone to between 5 and 10 minutes apart, so fairly consistent, but still like 2 would be 10 minutes apart, and then they'd be 7 minutes apart, and then 5, and then back to 7 or 8. So they were fairly consistent, but still not super intense, but they were getting closer together, so that was encouraging. And then they started to get a little bit more intense. I had to breathe through them a little bit. I definitely knew I still had a little ways to go, but they were definitely getting a little bit stronger. And so my husband came home from work that evening, and I said, okay, I think tonight this baby is gonna come. And I kind of hesitantly texted my midwife and my sister again and said, okay, I'm so sorry about last night, but tonight I think maybe this baby's gonna come. I didn't want to be too confident in that because I had been wrong the night before, which that never happened to me before, so that was really strange. But I said, okay, I think tonight maybe this baby's gonna come. So my husband got home from work, we got the kids down for bed, and I think we sat down and watched a show together. And then right around 10 or 10:30, they picked up to every 3 to 5 minutes. So they were definitely getting closer together, getting a little bit stronger in that I couldn't just sleep right through them. I went to bed around 10:30 and I would fall asleep, but I would wake up every time I had a contraction. So really not sleeping because it was, like I said, 3 to 5 minutes apart. And so I would just kind of doze off and wake up every time I was having a contraction. So they were very consistent at that point and getting a little bit stronger. My husband fell right to sleep, so he slept through all this. And then around 12:30, I woke Andrew up. I said, okay, I am in labor. Definitely this baby is going to be coming in the next few hours. And then I also texted my sister and said, okay, you can come over whenever. And then I also called my midwife and said, yeah, I'm in labor, if you want to come over. Usually my like 5 to 10 centimeters goes like that, like so fast. And so I was really like, even this up till this point through the night, I was just kind of battling in my mind, like, when do I call? I don't want to call too early and have them over for a long time and me still be progressing slowly, but then I don't want to wait and wait and wait, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness, I'm feeling pressure, I think this baby's coming right now, and be too late to call the midwives. And anyway, so I was kind of struggling with that, like, when do I call? Because I thought eventually it's gonna start going fast, because that's always happened to me. So anyway, my husband got up and got the bed all made. We put like a shower curtain over the bed to protect our mattress and bedding and stuff. So he got that all made. My midwife came over and started getting her stuff set up. So she came around 1 in the morning. So at this point I am just 4 days overdue. So when she came over at 1 o'clock, I was just very curious how dilated I was. So I wanted her to check me, and so she did, and she said that I was 5 centimeters. So I was a little bit disappointed. I don't know that I've ever been checked at 5 centimeters. Usually by the time my midwives come, I'm like at least 7 or 8 centimeters. And then usually the baby's born within an hour for sure of my midwives coming over. So I was like, okay, 5 centimeters, all right, well, it's gonna start going quick right away here. So I got up and just kind of walked around the room. Basically, I think that's what I did for the next hour. I just walked and paced around the room, and we just kind of chatted, my sister and I, and my midwife was there, my husband, and so then at 2 o'clock, I said, okay, can you check me again? It's been an hour. So she checked me and she said, well, you're 7 centimeters now. And I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere, but this is going really slow. So then again, I got up and walked around. I think I eventually sat down on the bed, and I really felt relief from the pressure when I would lay down. So I was sitting and standing for a while, and then I thought, I just want to relax and lay down. So I laid down, and I really did feel a little bit more relaxed. My contractions didn't feel as painful when I was laying down. And so then my midwife called her backup midwife to make sure that she'd be there in time, because we always have 2 midwives there. My one midwife will be like for me, for the mother, and then the second midwife comes and she's basically in charge of the baby. So as soon as the baby gets out, she does the baby checkup and all that kind of stuff. So they kind of split it up. So an hour later, at 3 o'clock, my midwife checks me again, and she said, you're still right at about a 7. And that was super disappointing to me. I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, this is not how my labors go. I'm usually getting through the end of labor here so fast. So what is going on? But she said, well, I can stretch you to a 10. And she said, well, maybe we should break your water. And I've had a couple births where they did break my water, but I really wanted to not have them break my water this time. I had done the same with my 4th pregnancy, my 4th birth, and had them not break my water, and I started pushing when I was right around 10 centimeters, and that broke my water, and I thought that was so much better to break my water with pushing than with them reaching in and breaking it. So I thought, I want to just wait. And then my contractions kind of started to slow down, which was really weird, but they started to get to like every 5 to 7 minutes apart. They were intense, but they were definitely further apart. And so I was just thinking, my goodness, if I am just like having contractions this far apart, it's gonna take forever to get me from 7 all the way to 10. And then my midwife said, well, like, we really don't want it to slow down too much more, because then if it stops, there's the risk of having to go into the hospital and be put on Pitocin to get your contractions back. And I didn't think it would go to that extent, but still I thought, you know what, why don't you break my water then? Because I'm pretty sure if you break my water, I will go to a 10 really fast. So that's what she did. So I think it was around 3:30 that she did break my water, and she said there was a ton of it, a lot of water coming out, and sure enough, she felt, and she's like, you are pretty much at a 10 now. There's just a little lip of cervix. So around this time, my daughter came in. My daughter Charity, who is 6, really wanted to be there for the birth, and I had asked her, even if it's in the middle of the night, do you still want us to wake you up and so that you can come watch our baby be born? And she said, yes, I would be so disappointed if I woke up in the morning and knew that you'd had the baby and hadn't woken me up. So Andrew went and got her up, and she just came in really quietly and just sat up in the bed beside me and just observed through the rest of the labor, and she was just really sweet and really good being there through the labor. So they broke my water. Like I said, I had that little lip of cervix. If I remember correctly, my midwife said that sometimes after breaking your water, your cervix might tighten up a little bit, and so it might close a little bit with that lip of cervix. And so she said, on your next contraction, I am just going to hold that lip open and see if the baby's head will drop past that. If I remember correctly, that's how she worded it all. And so that's what she did, and she had her hand up there, which is awful, having someone's hand on your cervix while you're having a contraction, but she held it there so that the baby's head would drop past, and it did. And she's like, the baby's head is right there. And so I think I probably waited for a few more contractions before I really felt the urge to push, and then right at around 3:40 a.m. I started pushing. I did mention that this labor was very different than my others, and that it was so long, but it was also so painful. More than I remember experiencing in the past, and pushing was the same. I just felt the pushing was so intense and very painful, more than I remember with some of my others. Anyways, so I started pushing. I was definitely the loudest this labor. I'm not usually too vocal through labor and through pushing, and I wasn't, but I think I was the most vocal this time. So I just laid on my back, and I've told you guys before that I have had stitches all 4 of my pregnancies, all 4 of my births, I should say. And so this time I was really hoping to not need stitches, to not tear, and so I told my midwife that, and I had heard that on your hands and knees could help with that, and so I mentioned that to my midwife, and she said, I don't think so. She said, I think being on your back is the best because I can kind of guide the baby as it comes out. And so I said, okay, that's fine. I have no desire to push on my hands and knees. I prefer to be on my back. The only reason I considered that was because of not tearing. And she said, well, we'll try really hard. I will guide you, go slow, and we will try to get you through this without tearing. Anyways, so it was pretty neat because I think I pushed 2 or 3 times, and then the baby's head started to crown, and my midwife said, okay, Julie, stop, just let the baby's head just slowly go out, don't push anymore. And so I just laid there and I didn't push, and I could just feel his head just like very slowly just sliding out, and it was pretty cool to feel that because I wasn't pushing. I had basically crowned his head, and then his body just started to slowly slide out, and she was guiding it out all the way. And anyways, I think I had to push one more time for the rest of the body to come out, and then my husband caught the baby, quickly put him up on my chest, and then my midwife said, Charity, what is the baby? Is it a boy or girl? Tell your mom. And Charity just kind of like, and I was like, Charity, tell me, what is this baby? I was so curious, and then she said, it's a boy. And so we were just so happy to see him. The first thing I noticed was how much hair he had. I thought, wow, he has a ton of hair, and he cried and cried and cried on my chest, and it's amazing. That's just the most amazing thing. meeting this new little one that you've been expecting for so long. My midwife also told me that a lot of fluid had come out right after his body, and so as I've told you guys so much through this pregnancy, I said, this baby is a big baby, and he was. I'll tell you afterwards what he weighed, and he was a good sized baby, but I think that's partly why I felt so big too, was because I had a lot of fluid. So yeah, that was just interesting to hear that I had so much fluid as well. Both of our boys woke up at this point because they heard the baby crying and crying, and so my husband poked his head out of the door and said, okay, go downstairs, Grammy's downstairs. His mom had come and just sat downstairs just in case the other kids all woke up. And so they went downstairs. Zara, my 2-year-old, slept through the whole thing, which was nice. So then right after he was born, my daughter Charity, who'd been there watching the whole labor, and like I said, she was so good. She just sat and observed, and she was just so sweet through the whole thing. Anyway, she went over to my husband and she was crying, and just tears in her eyes, and the midwives were like, oh no, is she okay? Like, what's wrong? Like, and I said, no, she's crying because she was hoping the baby was a girl. And so she was just crying to my husband, and he was like, it's okay, you're just really tired, you're gonna be happy when, you know, you're gonna love having another little brother. And so it was kind of funny, but kind of sad, because I think through this whole pregnancy we've been like, what do you want, what do you hope this baby is? And she's always said a sister. So then to watch it be born and realize it's not a sister was a little bit disappointing to her, but she got over it really quickly. Anyway, so then at that point I think she went downstairs to be with my mother-in-law as well, and I got stitches. I needed stitches again, and my midwife said, Julie, like, this is just you, this is your skin makeup for whatever reason. She said, there is absolutely nothing we could have done. We were so careful, but you still needed some stitches, and it wasn't too bad. I didn't need too many, but I did get those stitches done. And then after that was over, all 3 of my kids who were awake came upstairs to watch the midwives do the newborn exam, which was really sweet. I think they really enjoyed being there for that. So they do like the eye drops, they check reflexes and check everything. They weighed him and all that stuff, and the kids got to be there for it. I think they actually even watched my midwife do a placenta tour, so show them the placenta and where the baby goes in the placenta and all that kind of stuff. So that was super cool, having a home birth. And even though my boys weren't there for the birth, because I did have the home birth, they were able to be there like right after and see all this stuff. So I think that was really cool for them, and I don't think they'll forget that experience. As soon as all the kids came in, we announced his name, and we told the kids that we named him Wesley Calvin. And then it was time for him to get weighed and measured, and so they weighed him, and he was 8 pounds and 14 ounces. So my biggest baby, only by an ounce. Simeon was actually 8 pounds 13 ounces, so barely my biggest baby. And then he was 21 3/4 inches long, so pretty long. I think that's my longest baby, so pretty big boy. And we were just in love with him. We were so excited. All the kids right away wanted turns holding him, and Zara in the morning as soon as she woke up, which was not long after this, because I think my midwives left at, I want to say, probably 6 in the morning by the time they left. He was born at 3:45, so it was probably around 6 by the time the midwives left, and we sent our kids back to bed, and by 7 o'clock Zara was up. So it was a super duper short night, but we got to catch up a little bit that next day, and it was just a really good experience. It was strange. I kept saying to everybody who asked, I said it was my longest labor and my hardest labor. And I don't know why that is, but it was. But still a very good experience, and we loved it. We loved the experience of another home birth. I love having home births. Just a wonderful experience. And so baby latched right away, latched well, so that is always a blessing. And I think that's it for our birth story. I'm sorry this is long. I'm sure I will edit it a ton, but when I look on my screen right now, it says this video has been 24 minutes long. So sorry about the super long video, but I hope you enjoyed it. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and I will try to remember to link down below my other birth stories. I have done birth stories for my other 4 children as well, so go ahead and watch those. Anyway, I think I we'll wait till he wakes up and then I will finish off this video. Okay, here he is. He is 4 weeks old, like I said. And he just woke up, so he's probably getting hungry. But you're happy, that's good. Anyways, there he is, Mr. Wesley Calvin. I also wanted to mention while I was waiting for him to wake up, I thought of something else I wanted to tell you guys. Just a little bit of a funny story. So the few days after he was born, Charity was really good. She just kept telling me, that looked really painful. That looked really, really painful. Anyway, and then a couple days after he was born, she's just over there, so she's listening. A couple days after he was born, hello, she said, I think when I'm a grown-up, I just want to adopt my kids. So she was really good about it, but that was her reaction, was like, I think I'm just going to adopt. Anyways, do you want to say bye to everybody, mister? Say goodbye, everybody. All right, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.